Hello my beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful ball gown with a pleated waistline. So enjoy. So these are the materials we need. Our hard net, we use 2 yards. Mikado, you can use satin or crepe, we use 3 yards. Lining, 2 yards. And then our 2 nets, we made use of 8 yards. Then of course your zipper. Okay, so we have our front and our back piece, and our half length is 11 plus 1 inch, we have 12 inches. So the width of the front bodies is 8 inches, while the width of the back bodies is 10 inches. So we went ahead to mark out half inch. That's what we'll be using for our shoulder allowance. So on that line, we take our shoulder measurement and we have 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Then I added half inch allowance because we'll be adding a sleeve. Then from that point, we take our armhole measurement, which is 6 inches. Next, we'll be taking our chest measurement divided by 4, which is 24 inches divided by 4, which is 6 inches. Then we added 2-inch sewing allowance. Our waistline measurement is 22 inches divided by 4 is 5.5 inches, plus 2 inches sewing allowance is 7.5 inches. Next, we head over to our neckline. Our neckline measurement is 2.5 for the width. Then for the back depth, we are using 1 inch for the back depth, while for the front depth, we are using 3 inches. So we take our shoulder slant of half inch, then we connect it like this. Then also on the waistline, I'll be taking out half inch. So we connect it like this, and then we cut off. So I'll go ahead to open up my back piece, then I'll notch the zip allowance, then I'll cut off my front neckline. So this is what we have. So I went ahead to cut it on the lining. I duplicated the measurement on the lining. So this is what we have. So I'll go ahead and turn it with the lining piece. We'll turn the neckline, then the sides. So this is what we have after turning it with the lining piece. Now for that waistband, I'll go up by 2 inches on this side. Then on the other side, I went up by 3.5 inches. I want to form a kind of slanted waistline. So I'm going to get a rough piece It's just a long piece anyway. So I'll place it on those 2 points that we marked, just like this. And then I'll go ahead to sew it up. And this is what we have. I've sewn it, in order to hold it in place. So I'll start forming my pleats with my hands. So you will need your office pin here so you can be holding it to stay in place. Please, if possible, as you are forming your pleats, you iron it immediately. This will help your work to stay in place, and then for you to also clearly see what you are working on. So you can go ahead and make as many pleats as you can. But meanwhile, you have to be watching the front bodies under, so you will know when you get to the end. And please note, you have to give like half-inch allowance, so you won't just go and sew on the pleats. You can see me looking under. So just make as many pleats as possible. So in my own case, I just used 3 pleats. You can decide to do 4. So after forming the pleats, I went ahead to sew the 2 sides in order to hold it in place. I sew it up, and this is what we have. So next we're going to turn it like this and then trim off the excess we have. So next I'm going to be joining my front and back bodies together. So just watch carefully to see how I like joining my shoulder. So I'll hold it. Normally I hold fabric to fabric and lining to lining, and then just sew on it like that. Just watch carefully and see. So I opened it up so that you just understand it clearly, and then I'll match up lining to lining and fabric to fabric, and then I'll sew it up like that. and this is what we have, so you can see it. So I'll go ahead to sew on my 1.5 inch allowance. Remember, I left 2 inches sewing allowance, but we already used half to turn the fabric and the lining. So we just sew, we are left with 1.5 inch now. So we just sew it. And then this is what we have. Now let's head over to the down part. Now for our tulle nets, we are making use of 8 yards like I earlier said. So I measure out the length, and what we have here is 32 inches. Now for the flay part, I use 3 yards of Mikado. You can use crepe, you can use satin. So we fold our fabric into two, then you fold it into two again in a triangular form. That's why having 4 folds. Please make sure you cut your waist in excess so that we can gather it. So this is what we have after cutting our flay piece. So we went ahead to run a gather stitch. Now for our lining piece, well, from the half cut to gown length measurement, we subtract 2 inches. So we are supposed to have 31. When we subtract 2 inches, we'll be left with 29 inches. You know, we don't want our lining poking out of the dress. And this is what we have. Okay, so we open up our lining piece, and then from that top line I'm going to mark 2 inches, and I'll take it straight down to the other end. From that 2 inches line, I will also be marking out 12 inches. So I'll be fixing my hard net on that line. I want to have 2 steps of hard net. Now this is my hard net. I remember I told you I'm using 2 yards, and I measure 13 inches each, so cut as much as possible. So we are going to be pleating it on the lining piece like this. So this is what we have after pleating it on the lining piece. You can see we are having 2 steps. This is the first one, then that's the second step. Our two gathered fabrics and sew it as one so that we can fix it on the waistline. So we'll place it like this, and then we sew it up. And this is what we have after sewing it up. Next, we're going to get our lining piece and then use it to turn the waist up like this. You can see my lining is on top of the bodice, so that by the time we turn it, we'll bring it down like this. We'll have a clean waist finishing, and this is what we have. So we go ahead to finish it up and then add our zipper and fix in our sleeve. Not done yet, so in order to add a little twist to the waistband, I will use needle and thread to tack that pleat we did. So I just held the first pleat and the last pleat and then use my needle and thread to tack it, as you can see me doing in the video. Then after doing this, you can decide to add your rows. You can see me tacking in my rows just to also add a touch of little more beauty to it. I actually made these rows myself. Please, if you learned a thing or two from this tutorial, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you.